international captain back from his conquering of Australia. So we'll be delighted to take questions on the tour, I'm sure. Please, who wants to lead it?
But before you left, it was kind of I think it was said that it was going to be the last potential chance for some experimentation. Did you get what you wanted out of the tour? Obviously 3 games, you guys were there for so long, we thought you could have gotten 5 maybe. But did you get what you wanted from the tour?
I do think so. I think the definitely more answers after this tour than the previous tour, and I also feel as a team we're starting to get better and better the more we play together. So it's good to see that the stuff that we've been speaking about quite a bit. Obviously combinations is one, but also two, the style of players. The guys are getting used to it now. Our new balance that we're playing, the guys are finding their roles in the team. So yeah, it was a very exciting time for us in Australia. I mean, a lot's been said about the Australian team, but it's still very tough to beat them there. So yeah, the guys played some good cricket over there.
And just with regard to some of those answers, the all-rounder situation, all 3 of them sort of stood up when they had the opportunity. Can you give us an update on where the team's headed at, you and Otis?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, you rightly say that both all-rounders bowled well. But as I said before, I think certainly from my perspective, that position is going to be important from a runs point of view. So we're looking for the guys around the country that can score consistently the most runs. Obviously, on this tour it was Andile and Dwayne, and both didn't. Well, Andy didn't bat in the first game, but in his one opportunity with a bat, didn't unfortunately score runs, but bowled really well, did Dwayne. So we know with our four bowlers attack that there is enough X factor in our bowling attack, but we also, like I said, it's also a long tail. So therefore the onus will always go, or for now, go on the strength of the all-rounder, especially from a batting point of view.
And for the number 3, number 4 position, you were toying with playing in number 3 and number 4, and you tried David Miller in the number higher up in number 4. Have you considered him maybe as a number 4 batsman for the World Cup?
To be honest with you, no. I think David Miller is the one thing that we have in David Miller is a very good hitter of a cricket ball, and we've seen over the years, not just now, but when we do have wickets in hand at the end, our strength as a batting attack has always been wickets in hand. You know, whether that was 2-3 years ago when AB was still playing, or even the guys before that. If we had a base, our capabilities to score at the end is always something that is an X factor that we've had. So someone like Klaasen comes into that mould as well, but Dave's experience by finishing games, and so the nice thing with him now on this series is that he gave himself a bit of time and he started just playing the situation. But as soon as he got through that, then we saw that X factor that Dave has always had. But it's really good to see him putting in some consistency. And then like previous series, JP did that. Now David Miller did that. So it's really good for me to see that the senior players are also putting a peg in the ground for their selection, because we have obviously more than in the past give guys an opportunity, and that can put pressure on players in terms of getting spots in the team. So therefore the only way to make sure that you nail it down is to be consistent. So it's good to see that we're getting that every series now from someone different.
Some of the perspectives on individuals. I mean, obviously, they have to have Dale staying back, and obviously Miller did really well, and maybe some other plus factors that you thought might did really well.
Yeah, as I said before we left to go to Australia, the thinking in my mind certainly changed for the 4 bowlers, and that proved very handy in those conditions. So I think we're confident with that now. Or everyone is confident with that now, and believe in that formula that we want to go. In an ideal world, would have liked to play Shamo and Imi together, because I do think there is still a space for them playing together. So on the day that you're going to face in the World Cup, where there'll be a pitch that will be a little bit slower, or you play a position that's perhaps not as strong against spin, to play the 2 of them together. But the wickets over there was so seamers friendly that it would have been a very, very out the box call, and I'm all for calls like that. But it just the what we saw in front of us, it would have been right because the seamers were bowling really well in those conditions, and obviously as you see, Dale, Lungi, and KG were exceptional. So yeah, that's one thing that's really happy with that. I thought Aiden at number 3 was positive. He looked good. Still like to see him score like 100 or something like that, but really good to see him starting to find his feet there. So that's a positive for us. And then obviously Imi as a spinner didn't have the success that he would have liked, but we know with Imi he's got it there. But the nice thing is that we've got someone like Shamsi there as well. So it's really good from a squad point of view that you have your main guys, but you also have backups if something were to happen. And I think we are getting that nicely in our squad now.
But just to touch on what you spoke about earlier, you said about the pace that you guys created and you've got the X factor at the back. A couple of months ago you were saying about maybe going attacking, where it looked like you returned to the way what was successful for you guys in Australia. Is that the way you're going to go again? Or
yeah, we've the nice thing about the last 6 months or so is when we sat down with the batting unit and we discussed how we wanted to go about it, and especially where we've gone wrong in the past, mainly I suppose at big tournaments. I do feel there's a regular occurrence within the batting lineup that there is a fear of failure, and that obviously comes from a pressure point of view. So the thinking around it was just to, even if results you didn't get the results or the runs straight away that you would have liked, at least mentally you would have challenged yourself a little bit in the games that you were playing, that there is something that you would find out about yourself as a batsman. And I think guys are getting really clear on what their game plans is for them to be successful. And that's the only thing that we wanted to achieve, is we wanted to almost like give the batters a blank canvas of finding exactly what they can and can't do, but by not being restricted, by being boxed in a certain way that they should play. So even though at times it didn't work as well as we would have liked, there's definitely come a clarity from all the things that the batsman has gone through the last 6 months. But I do believe there is a place for that. As you said, in Australia, when the conditions are good, you have to get through that first 10 overs and then you get a base. But if you're playing in the subcontinent or you're chasing low targets, you need to be brave as batters to try and take the game on a little bit, because if you do just try and sit it out, you can also get out, and then you're even under more pressure because you're not scoring runs. So I think what's becoming more clear for the batters is there's room for both.
Vernon Fernandez fit again. Will he be playing ODI cricket against Pakistan?
Well, we haven't discussed the selection for Pakistan yet, but the search is still for that number 7. Obviously Vian is injured, whether he'll be back again. There's a few guys that will fall in that category: Vian, Dwayne, Andile, Vernon, and then even possibly considering the fact that we might need our part-timers to play a role to bowl 10 overs, so you can have 7 of your best batters playing together. So there's a few combinations that we're looking at. But Pakistan is not. We haven't discussed Pakistan's squad as of yet.
You're talking about the bowlers. Just one of the things that I think has been looking for a while is a consistent clearing and depth. Are you sort of happy with what you're seeing now with the fast bowlers that you have in this tour and the way they were bowling?
Very happy. That's actually one of the other things that I forgot to mention, was the fact that our death bowling is really strong at the moment. And you rightly say that we've never had 2 guys together that's renowned for closing games down, and now it feels like, or certainly from my perspective as captain, I know that the 2 of them know what they're doing. They're very different, which is great at the death. You don't have guys bowling the exact same way. And then if you add Dale in there just to come in before them, if it was over 40 to 46, he's got the ability to get wickets. So really exciting. I think our bowling attack is, if I look back in the previous World Cup or Champions Trophy we went with a strong batting lineup. We felt a little bit light on the bowling. I feel now, obviously injuries will be a big thing, and I think there is an opportunity for us to discuss how we're going to look after our fast bowlers, especially leading up to the World Cup, because I don't think we're the only team, but there'll be a lot of teams relying on especially their pace attack. There's a couple of teams, if you take 2 fast bowlers out, then they look like a completely different unit. So that's something that as a brains trust we'll try and manage that.
Just on that, Lim sort of fell over on Saturday morning and he went off the field. Is he okay?
Yeah, he's fine, 100%.
Faf, we saw you guys watching the Mzansi in Singapore in the lounge. Are you excited to come back, and especially what happened down at Paul yesterday? They didn't win, but just the atmosphere and getting involved in this tournament?
Yeah, I mean, we had a very long stopover in Singapore, so we had some time to kill. But for the first time, there's a real energy around the national players about domestic cricket. I certainly can't remember of any stage when there was the whole team getting together, watching it online, a domestic game back home. So really excited. But I mean, obviously we're going to play against each other now, which is also new. That hasn't happened in the past, and that's great for the supporters in South African cricket, that you'll have the best domestic players and also your international players playing. And so far the competition, from what I've been looking, has been awesome. And yesterday was a great game of cricket. It looked like there was a good fan base there at Paul or Boland Park, and it was a great game. So yeah, I think it's cricket in South Africa is on the up.
I assume that the Mzansi Super League is an opportunity for some guys to put their hands up for national team selection?
Always. I mean, we have an idea of, I think, probably 12 guys or 13 guys that would be, almost locked in for that squad. But you have to always leave room for guys that shoot the lights out and come in with red hot form. So that's one aspect, obviously, for us, but also great opportunity for guys to put their names up for IPL and stuff like that.
Is it possible that a national team player has a poor Mzansi Super League and his place gets called into question?
Not if he's in the plans. International cricket there's obviously an intensity to international cricket. And in a perfect world, you'd like your international players always to come down and perform. But yeah, if like I said, if they're part of the 12, we've been working a very long time on making sure that we get our combinations right. And I think it will be wrong to doubt that just over in a T20 tournament. It's important, especially for us as the brains trust, that you stick with the guys you think is going to make a difference for us. And then you leave, as I said, 2 or 3 places open for that.
Maybe the Villiers, if he does have a change of mind, is there a cut of that, or is that was bolted already?
Yeah, I've been enjoying the fact that we haven't had a lot of AB de Villiers questions lately, but it's okay. I'll let you have one. Yeah, I think AB would be the guy to change his mind. I think it was his decision to change, obviously to retire. So if he had a change of heart, as we said, Pakistan, we would like to be picking our best team by then. So it will be, if in your perfect world, it will be have to let the guys who have the power maybe before that series.
So the door is not closed?
Well, Victor Matfield retired from international rugby, and he came back, and I suppose no one would have ever thought he would have come back. So I mean, AB is a world-class player, but it was AB's decision to retire, and if he wanted to come back, it would need to be a discussion with obviously the people. But I think it's his decision. It won't be a decision coming from the team.
Just for you're aware that he said after the Cape Town Blitz game, he said it's not in my hands.
I didn't retire, so I can't unretire him. But I don't know. He made it pretty clear as far as I haven't listened to the interviews, but the conversation that I've had with him was that he was done with international cricket, and he was very convincing, and even trying to still find a way to make sure that I could change his mind was pretty obvious that there wasn't there. That decision was made way before actually the conversation that we had. So yeah, I haven't spoken to him about it again.
Just one more about to say, David. I just want to know, before the series, they were talking about whether they're going to be sledging, whether they're going to be aggressive or not aggressive. What were they like?
No, they were tame. That's the word. But I think if you go to Australia, and obviously we were there as a team now, you could sense why. I think it's difficult to experience the hurt that Australian cricket is going through if you're not there. The public is angry at what happened. And Cricket South Africa has been, or Cricket Australia has been firm in their, obviously their sanctions that they handed down, and there was a lot of people asking for them to change it, but they've remained firm because they see how much it has affected the general supporters in Australia. I mean, they were honestly really hurt. So you understand why they are doing it. You understand why they want to play a different brand of cricket, because there is a lot of eyes on them, and the style and the way they play and the way they carry themselves as cricketers, but also as people. So I understand where it's coming from, and as I said, on that side, they're trying to play this way of cricket now, and I'm sure they've got really good cricketers, but they'll find out what works for them over the next 6 months or so, if it's really something that they believe in.
And no chirping from the supporters?
Oh, you always get chirps when you go to Australia. Oh, that's the beauty of playing there. I love that. When you go there, you feel that energy in the crowd. Most change rooms, you have to walk through the crowd to get to the pitch. So as you walk down, you hear a few good mornings.
How does it feel personally to be the only captain to go to Australia, to win across all formats, to beat them in the series at home, to beat them 5-0? What does personal satisfaction you get from beating Australia, like leading teams, and also being enemy number 1 down under?
Hugely. I mean, I was part of the previous generations, the Smith and the Cullis, and I remember like it was yesterday when they spoke about the pain and the hurt and the embarrassment and the scars that they got in Australia by always going there and always losing. And obviously the first series was when Graham, when that series we won down under. But since that day, it's really been something that motivated me especially. And obviously, as you rightly say, the villain over there. But I love playing there. I think it does bring the best out of me. There's that, or always when there's a fight on or something is happening that brings the best out of my character. And I'm trying to get that same recipe when I'm playing against other people. So maybe I must go pick a fight.
You mentioned bring up the same thing.
Okay, just one more, just on the World Cup balance. You spoke about the long tabletop with those 4 guys that you have that bowling attack at the moment. Does that become a bigger gamble in high pressure matches when things could potentially go wrong up front?
Yeah.
Not having that.
That's hence why we're saying number 7 becomes purely, not purely, but 70% batting, 30% bowling. If you have JP back, JP offers you, he can bowl 10 overs, but he offers you at least 5. So you're looking for 5 more overs somewhere, whether that's from even someone like Aiden Markham bowling a little bit, or your all-rounder, your proper all-rounder. For me, the important thing becomes runs, because you have to look at the fact that you're playing in England, that you might find yourself 3 down. So a bowling all-rounder at number 7 with a tail like that, you potentially exposing yourself to something that can go wrong.
But no at this stage chance of changing that balance, or have you kind of settled on that balance now moving forward?
We will have, I think the squad will allow to have different options. So your different options will be either 2 spinners on the day, 2 all-rounders on the day, or the attack of having 4 seamers and your 7 batters. So I think your squad will allow for that. We'll make sure that we have every angle covered. But in our minds, certainly our strongest team right now is potentially your best 7 batters and your 4 wicket takers.
Faf, can you remember how to speak Afrikaans?
No.
Can we have a bit of a summary? Not everything. It's just about the tour, about obviously winning one of the T20s, about your game plan, about the all-rounders, and just some of the positives. Just beginnen praten, wat is het?
Ja.
Al jou lewe vir Afrikaans.
Ja, die toer was vir ons 'n spesiale een geweest. Ek dink die mense weet hoe moeilik dit is om Australië toe te gaan en daar te gaan speel om te wen. Dis 'n baie moeilike span om te wen, veral in hulle eie land. En ek voel as 'n span het ons baie goeie cricket gespeel. Selfs die een wedstryd wat ons verloor het, kon ons gewen het. Ek voel veral toe ek en David Miller saam gebat het daar, ons was in die moeilikheid geweest, maar ons albei kon die wedstryd gewen het. So as die cricket wat ons gespeel het, die hele reeks daar was baie goed. Ek voel as 'n span begin ons bietjie beter word elke wedstryd wat ons speel. Ons kombinasies lyk goed. Die 4 bowlers werk op die oomblik. Ons veral met die wêreldbeker in Engeland is kort jy bowlers, jy kort paaltjies en soos ek gesê het voorheen, ons het altyd 'n lang kolflys gehad, maar ons het gevoel ons kort paaltjies in die middel. As ook daai lopies van 'n kolwer wat jy kan kry en ek dink dit begin 'n mooi werk. Met die experience ouens wat nog moet terugkom, iemand soos Hashim Amla, JP Dumini, dan die ander ouens ten minste lekker kans kry om te speel. Ouens soos Risa Hendricks, Aiden Markram, Hendrik Klaasen. Dis almal ouens wat baie inexperienced is, so hulle het nou lekker games wat hulle gespeel het, hulle word meer ervare. So ons maak ons fokus nie net op ons 11 nie, ons fokus op ons 15, om ons 15 so sterk as moontlik te kry vir die wêreldbeker. Ek en Outes sê al vir hele rukkie dat alles wat ons dink en alles wat ons doen, gaan nie oor nou nie. Dit gaan nie oor die wedstryd wat ons speel nie, dit gaan meestal om vorentoe te kyk. So ons beplan al lank hiervoor en ons altyd voel of ons in die regte rigting gaan. So baie positief vir wat voor lê. Ek dink die volgende 2 reekse wat ook, of val Pakistan wat gaan kom, gaan 'n baie goeie toets wees. Hulle is 'n goeie span op die oomblik. Veral in witbal cricket, hulle is een van die beste dink ek in die wêreld op die oomblik met witbal cricket. So dit sal 'n goeie plek wees om onsself weer eens te toets teen 'n sterk span en ja, soos ek voorheen gesê het, teen daai tyd hooplik nie meer so baie veranderinge te maak nie, meer nader aan die span te wil speel wat jy wil hê vir die wêreldbeker. Daar is een of 2 beserings wat moet regkom. JP Dumini het nogal 'n ernstige operasie op sy skouer gehad, so ons hoop hy kan mooi regkom. En sal graag nog 'n kans wil vir Wian Mulder ook gee. Ek dink hy het vir alles 'n kolwer is daar ietsie daar wat ons nou kan kyk. Maar dit is alles te doen met die beserings wat ons van daai 2 ouens.
Net iets oor die Mzansi Super League and you know how excited the national players are and what it means to South Africa.
Ja, dis 'n baie groot tyd vir cricket in Suid-Afrika. Ek dink die domestic spelers is veral baie bly vir die reeks wat gebeur en excited vir wat dit beteken vir hulle, maar dit beteken ook baie vir die internasionale spelers. Ons het gisteraand 8 of 9 ouens saam op die lughawe gesit en op een van die ouens se iPad het ons die game gekyk. So ek het dit nog nooit gesien in my tyd vir die Proteas dat die ouens saam sit en 'n domestic game kyk. So dit beteken dat ons is regtig excited en veral met al die Protea ouens speel. Ek dink dit gaan 'n sterk tournament wees met almal in.
Thank you. Thanks for attending. Thank you.